Look. Fake smiles, walk miles in an obvious funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sip of water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Myself a cup of coffee, sip of water when it's softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. I needed me some rainy days, so I needed me some rainy days, so for the weary, so we teary eyes realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and breathe and connect to myself and know that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The rain be looking like when blessings drop in. And so I cop myself a cup of coffee, sip of water, rain it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Coffee, sip of water, rain it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
Good evening, everybody. This is Divided We Stand. It's wonderful to see everybody. I'm Brian Weinstein. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, this is the Divided We Stand channel on YouTube. We ask that you subscribe. We're not monetized. We're not looking to get anything from you, so please join us. We're also on Facebook on Divided We Stand, appropriately enough, Divided We Stand group page. We ask that you become a member. The more the merrier. Again, we're not asking for anything, but just your commiseration and your input, especially during these trying times. We have our traditional co-host, and that would be Dave Price. He'll be joining us in a few seconds. And we also have, from time to time, from Kingston, Canada, we have our Kevin Wheeler joining us. Kevin is a good friend of mine and a political activist up in Ontario, and it's always good to see him and get the Canadian input for things that are going on in politics. So we'll have him, and we also have a fourth guest, and that would be Lucky. And if you're familiar with Lucky, Lucky is Kevin's wonderful, wonderful dog, and you will be seeing him right behind the Canadian flag there. So please please be sure to pay attention to Lucky from time to time. So, gentlemen, good evening. How are we doing tonight?
I'll defer to Canada. Kev, you go first.
I'm great, guys. I'm glad to be on your show again. I enjoy every time I get on with you, Brian and Dave, and to talk about stuff that's going on in the world that, most people don't care about. We do care, and a lot of people don't.
Right. True. And Dave, you're from Arlington, Virginia right now. What's happening there?
Well, it's interesting. Okay, obviously, tonight there's only one thing to talk about, but we'll come at from many different angles, and that is the only question right now: is America at war? And if so, what format will that take? That's really it. There's nothing else. So down here, everybody's got it talking about that, thinking about it. I'll start with a story that I wish were true, but it's not, but it may be. It's one of those typical Trumpian stories, right? That's there. So there is a legend here, legend and lore, that you can tell when something is going to happen in America or the world that will involve the military. And the reason you do that is requests for pizzas delivered to the Pentagon increases exponentially. Now, that sounds pretty cool, and it makes some sense because obviously people are going to put in long hours. If you've never been in the Pentagon could feed a country. They have so many food stands there and stuff. But, maybe you like the pizza better at this other place. And so the number of different publications ran that story all over America. But, of course, there are denials because they don't want, I guess, the Iranian spies to be hanging out at the pizza places in Arlington or Crystal City, where I live, or the Pentagon or Pentagon City. But what it does is, I think that story focuses on whenever there's a threat of war or we're in a war and we're not really quite sure yet where we are. We know there's been military action. That obviously, when so many people work for government, and especially the Pentagon is still DC's largest employer, so it creates a hubbub that doesn't subside until this is settled. So you ask how it is. Here it's just hubbub, concern, fear, bravado, all the things that come with war.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, let's look at that. There's the old saying that, war is the element of the unknown. And I'd like to just unpack a few things first before we actually talk about Operation.
Sorry, Brian. I hate to interrupt, but you just brought up something. Actually, I talked to Ronnie, your wife, earlier, and she said she wanted you to pack a lot of things and leave. And once again, you are doing something that is not what the people request. You are unpacking rather than packing. But go ahead.
All right. So let's just say, okay, prior to Operation Midnight Hammer, Israel more or less gets to third base with their operation. They get inside. Correct. They're taking. There are, of course, a lot of ballistic missiles in Iran. They focus not on the missiles, but they focus on the launchers because they can't launch something unless they have a launcher, and that's right. The key. So they do a great job. They get rid of the launchers. Well, not all the launchers. There's still some to go. They take out some of the military leaders, but as we know, to be able to get to those nuclear sites, especially Fordo, they have to have a bunker-busting bomb, and that's probably been on the minds of our country for 15. We've always had that bomb ready. We're the only country that has that bunker-busting bomb, and of course, this is going to terrify Russia a bit because we know that Vladimir Putin relies on his bunkers, and now that he sees that we can bust those bunkers, that it's going to create a problem around the world for any type of leader who faces the United States. So for Israel to be able to take out Fordo, they need to have a way of getting down to the nitty gritty, going 300 feet down and be able to nail those centrifuges. But they can't do it. If they did do it, they have to do it over and over and over and over again. So Trump, of course, has people within his coterie of advisors, some for, some against. And then he finally makes the decision after saying, he's going to give them up to 2 weeks to make a decision, that he's going to use the bunker busting bomb. And of course, again, we're the only ones that can do that. You have to have the B2s or the B1s. I believe both of them are capable of carrying that 30,000-pound bomb. Each one carries 2. You need around 6 to keep pounding to make sure that you get it. They'll be doing assessments soon. And there's your home run if you get all 4 of them. All right. So that might be miraculous enough that they're able to nail those, because that does have implications for any other country that tries to attack any Western nation like the United States or Canada. You've got to get a weapon that's going to be able to nail that centrifuge, and we've got it, and no other country has it. But we have a problem, and it goes back to what I was saying about war is the element of the unknown. What do you do after the success of destroying those centrifuges? So much can happen. And that's what I want to talk about the day after. We're going to be speculating a lot. We're going to look at this from all different angles tonight. We're going to ask that our audience, actually I say group of fans, they're all part of this. We're just facilitating the discussion. Add your commentary. I'm going to say ahead of time, because we did have a comment last week that I wasn't putting the comments up on time for 1 or 2 people. Look, I do my best. I have to listen to my guests, so I can't always get the comments in. So I'll try my best. So, gentlemen, it's your turn to comment, speculate, say what you need to say.
If I could just jump in for like 2 seconds, and I'll
sure.
let Dave
Go ahead,
jump
Jeff.
ahead after this. So when I sent you the message, Brian, the other day when I was on watching my CNN Live, when they said that the USS Nimitz carrier group was going in, I found out the Ronald Reagan carrier group was going in. Mm-hmm. They're not going to send 2 battle groups, let alone 3, into the Middle East. And then Trump say, 2 weeks. You knew. I don't care what anybody says. You have to be an idiot to not know that he had something planned. I said that from day one. As soon as I found out from my news in Canada that the USS Nimitz group was going to the Middle East, you knew something was coming. Mm-hmm. And what happened? What happened to the 2 weeks? Trump said, well, we'll give Iran another 2 weeks. Well, he said that on Monday. Well, excuse me, Monday to Saturday. To me, that's not 2 weeks.
Well, something must have happened, right? I mean,
well, no, he was setting up Iran to make them feel a little uncomfortable by saying, you have 2 weeks. Let's get back to the table. Let's negotiate what we're going to do. He had this all set up before anything happened. He did.
Dave?
All right. So,
what say you?
So, Brian, I'm going to start with a question. I think it is the most important question around this. And unfortunately, it may be the most difficult to answer. Okay? Why did Donald Trump decide to involve us in what some believe could turn out to be World War III? Okay? So why the problem, and this points to a very central problem of the Trump presidency. There's nobody you can believe in that presidency. No one.
No one. No, there isn't.
No one. Not a person. Not Hegseth at the Pentagon. Not the PR people. Not Rubio. Not Vance. Certainly not Trump. So, what happens is we are left to make a decision without the truth. Hey, Anthony. To make a decision without knowing the truth about whether the war is a good or a bad thing. Well, in a way, you're talking about your carrier groups, so I'm going to play on that just for a moment. In a way, that ship has sailed. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. It is. Okay? Now, what concerns me about that is I do not believe Donald Trump is capable of doing good in and of himself. So, if he can't, it comes up to his advisors. I can't think of a group of people that I would less want to surround myself with if I'm going to
Yes,
war
Judy,
than
we
he
can
has.
move him.
Now, the next thing would be this. What are the possibilities of why we're there? Okay, number one possibility is that, and I'm called the Trump regime. The Trump regime fears that Iran could damage America in some way. Second, another possibility is that Israel, who the United States has long been a supporter of, requested or asked for some help. And Brian, you touched on that at the beginning of the show, which I think is an important consideration. We have the wherewithal to drop the bunker busters.
Right.
And
otherwise,
what that
Zelensky
is,
would have been dead by now in Ukraine had Russia had the capability, and they don't.
Right. Now, that brings up another interesting point, a why. Why Iran and not Russia? Okay? Is Trump splitting the support between Israel, in this case, which probably many people would agree with, and then in the other war, which we can't forget, is going for Russia, who, I'm sorry, is the bad guy. The problem with the Middle East, guys, and if anybody out there or anyone can tell me that, is it is a mess. It has always been a mess. It will always be a mess. My simplest way that I look at it, and I'm not, well informed enough to say that, this is the right decision. This is the way I simplify it. If you do the Palestinian thing, we'll start there because that was kind of what brought this along in a way. Hamas is a terrorist organization, no question, and influences or terrorizes the government to become a controlling force. Netanyahu is a war criminal, no question in my mind about that. Two bad guys, which is worse? Who killed? Who did what? Who did this? Does Israel have a right to defend its borders at all time? Does that right allow them to do genocide on the Palestinian people? That's how complex this system is. Is it, we've discussed the Bible from time to time on this show, and even though I don't believe it's the Word of God, and I don't believe that it has a whole bunch of truth in it, some of it is true, right? I mean, the historical parts in the Old Testament. And it appears that there's never been peace in the Middle East. All right? So that
and let's not forget the genocides that the Islamic countries perform in each other, which pale the Israeli situation pales in comparison. I just want to add that because it has to be added, and we also want to add that the Iranian leadership, 90% of the Iranian people want to see change, and they
Correct.
can't. And the people who wanted to, like for example, the Marxists, right at the time of the Iranian Revolution, they were killed.
You want to know why Iran's in the shape it's in? The United States.
Yes,
Brian. You could talk. You would now.
I will not doubt that. I'm not saying that. But let's unpack what we have there now. We have a brutal theocracy, and you cannot have a brutal theocracy that treats their women like pets, who also are threatening to bomb country, and they will, and they have done. They have. I'm not done. They have also proxies that are bombing us.
Go ahead.
No, but why am I wrong to say they don't have proxies? Are they wrong? Am I wrong to say they don't have any proxies?
No, but I'm not wrong.
Well, that's fine. Okay, let's move on then. Okay.
I just want everybody to understand you have very strong pro-Israel feelings. Are you not?
I have pro. I wouldn't say, well, yes, not for Netanyahu, but I think that the country of Israel is the Jew of the countries of the world. And I think that it's one thing to say, look, every country is going to make mistakes, including the United States, Canada, everybody knows that. My problem is if you are going to castigate the country for the mistakes, that's fine. And you're not doing this, Dave, but many people around the world will now attack normal Jewish people living around, killing people, for example, in Colorado, for the sake of the fact that they don't like what's going on in Gaza. That's wrong.
No argument with
And you don't see in China, you don't see Chinese people getting killed because of the CCP in China, the Communist Party of China. This is the only case where this happens, and it's complete Judeophobia. And that's the danger, and this is what bothers me the most, because we give other countries a pass, even Islamic countries a pass for their behavior, and they have killed scores more than the Israelis have killed. And I don't agree with this genocide. I agree if they wanted to have genocide, they could do it in 15 minutes, which is what Iran would do, and they tried to do.
Well,
okay. Genocide means that you're going to try to eliminate an entire people. There's a difference between an attack and a target, and you have to know the difference between that two.
Okay.
A target is when you are...
All right, enough targets that eliminated the whole population would be genocide. Is that correct?
No, because it would be genocide. No. It's, first of all, it's not the whole population. First of all, that's your count. You're basing it on the health ministry of Gaza, which happens to be Hamas. If the people themselves are being used as... I'm talking now. It's my turn. I'm going to speak. I'll let you speak when I'm done. If you use people as human shields, don't blame Israel. Blame the people who use human shields. Okay? That's it. Okay, now you can go.
Let me go back to my question, and don't be stupid with your answer.
I clearly said that wasn't stupid.
Now it's my time.
You got it.
It's my time. I'm going to ask you the same question I said before. Put everything out of your mind and just listen to the words. You said there's a difference between attacks and genocide, and that's true.
I said no, I did not. Now you're not listening to me. I said there's a difference. Listen to me, and I will tell you. I will say it for the second time. There's a difference between an attack and a target. Okay?
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
that's what I said.
But a target results in an attack. Would you agree with that? If you carry through.
No, because there's a different motivation. If you wanted to attack, listen, if you wanted to attack Gaza and create a genocide, right now it's 8:24. By 8:29, you could kill all the people because Israel has the capability. Is that true? Do they have the capability of killing all those people? Did they do it?
Absolutely.
Did they do it? Now I'm going to ask you the other question. If Iran had the same capability, if Iran had the same capability to do what Israel could have done, would they have done it? Yes or no?
All right.
Yes or no? I'm asking you now. Yes or no? Would Iran have done it? Oh my God! You don't think Iran? They sent thousands of ballistic missiles.
Actually, hold on, guys. I think actually, if Iran had the capabilities to actually, we'll say, if they had nuclear capabilities,
yes.
Iran would think they still do. Would they actually drop a nuclear weapon on
Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv, whatever. To be honest with you, they might. I would say 50-50, Brian and Dave.
Well, let's, okay, and I appreciate you saying that, Kev.
I know, but you're going to pay the consequences, because if they're coming from a solo sovereign state, that Iran, to me, in my mind, they're a sovereign state.
Mm-hmm.
The United States, to me, with all the people I've talked in Canada, when he bombed, Iran last night, there's a lot of Canadians that said he just basically opened up a can of worms. And if you open up a can of worms, you got to think about this. I'm going back to my military career. They have sleeper cells. We all know this. There's sleeper cells.
Absolutely.
All over.
And proxies.
So once they get the call with the sleeper cells, who are going to friggin' pay for this? It's going to be innocent people in a restaurant, in a hotel.
And that will be an attack, correct? And that will be an attack, not a target. That will be an attack.
That will be an attack. That's not a target. That's an attack.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's like
right,
Lisa
Brian.
said to me, my wife said,
let him finish.
Anything with Trump's name on it now is like degrading. I'll tell you. I was born and live in this country. I respect my country. At 65 years old, we don't have the armed forces anymore. We could never contend with Russia the United States, but I'll tell you, I guarantee you, we'd have 20 million men at my age of 65 and 67 years old standing on our borders if the Americans decided to invade, or if Russia started coming through Alaska. We'll put our lives on the line. Now we can understand what Iran feels right now. Sure, did they take out 3 of their nuclear sites? Yeah. Do they feel depressed? Yeah, because nobody has the armament that the United States does. Of course, Trump's holding the whole world. He's like a lock. It's like a lock. It's like this. Nobody's going to put up with Trump. Nobody can defend.
I agree with that completely. This is what I say. This issue. It's not. I'm not talking about Israel now, because now it's the United States getting involved, and this is the issue now is right now because it's the bigger brother. Now we have to do. This is the United States decision what they did. This is not. I mean, Israel certainly wanted to influence them, but it's still the United States decision. And I'm not saying it was even the right decision. I'm not even saying that. I understand it. I'm not going to say it's right. I'm going to say it's wrong.
I love Brian how. I'll use a word.
And that goes back to when I said that, when they put the USS Nimitz carrier group into the Middle East, then the USS Ronald Reagan went in. You knew, guys, come on, Dave, Brian, you knew something was coming down. They're not going to waste.
Well, I don't see. I'll say this, Kev. Listen, I'll admit I didn't actually know. Because there's 2 ways you can look at this. We can talk about the nuclear threat of Iran. If they sent something to Tel Aviv, a nuclear weapon, which they don't have at this moment. But if you send 10,000 regular ballistic missiles, it still has the same effect as the bomb. So it was still a danger. So no, it does. 10,000 ballistic missiles will have the same effect on Tel Aviv as a nuclear weapon would. That is a fact. It destroys the whole city. So they had to be taken out.
Thank you for just supporting my argument from before. So listen to what I'm saying, Brian. Put all your feelings.
I'm listening to you, Dave. It's not the feeling. I'm giving you facts, but I do have an affinity for backing Israel.
Right now, you can't talk.
Okay, go ahead. You're on.
All right, here we go. Let's go back to this genocide idea just for a moment.
We just did.
I think it's important.
But we'll do it. Okay, we'll do it again.
Is there technically any difference? Is the goal of genocide to wipe out a group? Is that true?
Yes, to wipe out an entire group. That they will do it to purposely kill. That sole purpose is to kill that race. That is their purpose, their motivation. The motivation is to eliminate an entire race. That is called genocide. Yes.
Brian,
correct.
Correct. There we go.
No, but wait.
What happened back in World War II with the Nazis? They tried to eliminate the whole Jewish population.
Correct. That was a tactical thing, and they attempted to do that. Is an entire population. Now, you're going to call it genocide if the United States happens to kill 6 million Germans who are casualties of war because of it? Were we guilty of genocide against the Germans? Were we? According to your definition, if we attack and they get killed, is it?
Brian, you haven't answered my question yet. I had the floor.
Israel, you talk. What is genocide? Is purposely? You're asking me what genocide is. They're motivated to kill. Okay.
Asswipe. I agree with your definition.
We don't have to get rude on this. We can just make the point. It's much better to make a point in a normal way.
No. I'm arguing with somebody who's already made up their mind.
I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear what Dave has to say.
Thank you. So we've established, Brian, and we agree that genocide is the elimination of an entire people.
No, I said the motivation to it is a tactical motivation to. No. You asked. No, we did not agree. You just said we agree. I did not agree with you. I did not agree with you. There is no agreement.
All right, go back.
So you're always right and I'm always wrong. Just because you say it, you think it's true. It's not true.
Brian, can I say
then if Israel is guilty of genocide, then we're guilty of genocide in Dresden and Hamburg.
Don't go to that. Just listen to me. Is the end result of a genocide, if it's successful, the elimination of all?
So is a plague.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So is a plague. Are you going to put a plague in jail for it? No, it's not genocide. That is not genocide. You're using a syllogism to get from A to C.
No.
B doesn't work. You have to go A to B, and it doesn't work.
You're using your worship of Israel.
No, that's not fair. I'm an atheist. I don't worship Israel. Get it?
Like
I don't. No, because I simply I defend the fact that that's not genocide. Doesn't mean that I have some affinity for defending Israel or anything. No, that's not fair.
Okay.
That's not fair.
Okay, it's not fair.
No, look,
All right, so here we go.
agree,
Back to
guys.
this.
I'll tell you right now, I don't agree with what Israel's doing to the Palestinian people either. I mean, they're bombing hospitals, they're killing kids just because they're saying, "Oh, Hamas has got, like this hospital, they've got bombs underneath." I don't believe in that either.
Whoa, Kevin, whoa, stop. You don't believe, Kevin? You're saying you don't believe, and Dave, you can agree or disagree with it. You don't believe that Hamas was having tunnels under those hospitals with what? Yeah.
No, I know they did, Brian. I know they did, but it's the civilians are the ones, Brian, that are the ones that pay the price.
But do you think the Israelis were happy with that?
With what?
If in other words, I'm asking you both. Do you think if there was collateral damage, do you think the Israelis were happy as a country, as a decent democratic country, that they're happy that civilian casualties occurred? Were they happy?
First of all, are they a decent country? You'd have to establish that first.
Absolutely. If I had to look at
okay.
And not any worse than any other country. They're the ones.
Well, that's like great. All the countries are messed up, so they're not.
Yeah, they are. I said in the beginning of the show, even good countries will make mistakes.
Right.
Oh, come
okay.
on,
Right?
the United States, Brian. You and I love each other. I love Dave too, but come on, you can't tell me that Trump didn't have, that at Capitol Hill that wasn't his little Goonie squad, and they live in a state.
I have no disagreement with that at all. No disagreement with that at all.
Brian, okay, let's start
That
here.
was all pre-planned. That was all pre-planned with Trump. And when he got in, like I told you, Brian, when he started running for his second term after Biden, I said, watch out. Didn't I not tell you? Watch out. Shit's going to happen in the States. And
Right.
what's happening?
Well, see, what's interesting, Brian, and of course I've been baiting you the whole time.
We do this a lot. Every 10 shows we do. I'm still going to defend myself. But yeah, listen. Everybody's out there. Dave and I are good friends. It makes for a good show.
We have freedom of speech in this world.
Right.
No matter what you say, Brian, or Dave says, or I say,
Brian,
we can disagree or agree. But
what you don't see is you don't see how animated you became in that conversation. Mr. Spock became Captain Kirk. That's what happened in that conversation.
Thanks,
So-
Rich. I got it.
Are we going to
So
Star
what
Trek days now, Dave?
Yes. So what we got here now? Let's see how close you and I can.
By the way, I'm maxing out my guest volume, guys. If Dave and Kevin, if your voices are a little bit lower with the guests here, I have maxed out on.
Well, yeah, but I
guest
understand
volume.
that. But you were emotional. Listen, let's just.
No, I'm saying you guys. No, I haven't maxed. I am maxing out.
Are you going to be defensive all night? Are you?
No. I'm talking about the microphone. I'm just trying to get it right. I'm saying you guys. They say it's not loud enough.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, but I don't know that the people.
Yeah, mine's up on that.
They say they can hear Kevin. They said, Dave, you got to check your mic.
Okay, I'm up on that
Because I can't control it any more than I can. I have it all the way up. All right. All right. So where do we go from here?
Here's
Okay,
what
can I say, Dave, can I just say one thing? I just want to get this.
Sure.
I'm on the show with you guys.
I think I scared Lucky there.
So, yeah.
Oh, there he is. That's my best buddy there.
Tell them don't mess with Canada, baby. Tell them don't mess with Canadian.
If that dog talks, I'm out of here. All right.
Anyways, what I want to
Brian.
say, I would just I'm between the show and that I'm watching my news, which I do every day. So Dave Harmon, he works for he was an ex-intelligence agency guy for CSIS, and it just popped across the screen saying that sometime in the last couple of weeks, I guess, in one of Iran's three
Keep that
depots,
quote up, Brian.
three of their depots, one of the depots, there was trucks going in and out, in and out, in and out, and they couldn't figure out why. How do we know that some of those that enriched uranium did not make it out of there, knowing maybe that Trump was going to bomb them?
That's
Where the
possible.
hell
That's
did it go?
possible. It still has to be assessed. You're absolutely right. We don't know because they know that there are trucks going out of there. That is an issue, and this is why I say this is still a problem.
Then you got to think about. Then you got to think about. Okay, the enriched uranium's gone, but you ever think about the point that cells, dirty bombs, like you don't know what Iran is going to do now. And I'm telling you, Dave and Brian, I'm being honest as a Canadian. A lot of Canadians are afraid right now because we don't know.
Okay, let's look at that for a moment. Go back to you, Brian. I was deliberately setting you up, which is kind of easy to do.
It makes
to
for a good
prove a
show.
point. No, to prove a point. This issue, like some other issues, is emotionally charged. That's number one. Okay? And most people have decided the good guys and bad guys, right?
Right.
And now into this, we interject somebody who happens to be the president of the United States into a situation that the wisest minds in the history of the world have been unable to solve. And I think most of us on this show would agree that you could not have a worse person than Donald Trump sitting there, as Kevin pointed out, with the possibility of World War III on every decision. Okay? So that's all I wanted to do. So we did that. So now let's look at this. Why do you think, and again, we're just speculating. We're back to my question now again. Why did Trump do what he did? What do you think, Brian?
Well, again, I've been wrong. First of all, I didn't think he was going to do it, number one. But the fact that he did it, he had people advising him both ways, and he's so ignorant. Either there was one individual who really convinced him, or something in the military. For example, I think in the end, I would hope that there would be enough people from the military to let them make the decision rather than someone like Stephen Miller or Steve Bannon or anybody like that. To say, okay, look, you can't let them have enriched uranium. The only question now is when they were going to have the enriched uranium. Was it going to be 2 weeks from now? That is a legitimate question to ask about Trump. This could he have waited 3 months and continued the negotiation? That's a valid question, and I don't know what the answers to that.
We can't, and that's I mean, there's no answer to why. I'm not even sure Trump knows. Look what Veg put up. Putin will supply Iran.
Oh yeah,
go back.
That's scary. Yes, and that's a possibility.
And now wait a minute. Now
I think Pakistan will before Putin.
I think that's what I was going to say, Brian. I don't think it'll be Russia. I think it will be Pakistan.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying here has nothing to do with this. What I'm going to say isn't. Thank you for saying it. What happens here is isn't Donald Trump in bed with Putin? Isn't that the consideration? So why would he set this up? And that's what has me worried, because it's been pretty consistent that Trump is with Putin. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
For the most part, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now we have a decision that if Putin were to act, and Brian, you're absolutely right, that the idea, you're a Russian expert, but pretty much you can predict what Putin will do given a situation most times.
Trump, let's not forget he is also close with Iran, Putin. So that is a triangle that doesn't quite work out.
But what I'm saying is, it just strikes me as odd that he would go against Putin, which I think if you mentioned Pakistan, that's a huge danger. Russia is probably not going to. If Russia were to come in, do you see them being on the side of Israel? I do not.
Can we repeat that one time? I got somebody sent.
If Russia were to come into this, I do not see them on the side of Israel.
Oh no! They've already stated as such this morning. Right. That's when I was completely for Iran. Absolutely.
Right. So what leaves me to worry even more is the fact of something made Trump do this.
By the way, you want to comment on? I mean, I'll comment on what Gary said, but I think Putin does give a damn. I just don't think he can do much about it at this point, aside from give him hypersonic missiles. I don't think.
Let's. Yeah, and Gary, if you're going to say Putin doesn't give a damn compared to how he feels about the Ukraine, I would do that. But if Putin were to come in on a side, and we're just saying if he were, I see this kind of a lineup: Iran, Pakistan, Russia, with China deciding to go whatever was its to advantage, which would probably be to sit it out. U.S., Israel, if would probably be aligned. Who knows? We've hurt our Western allies so much and disappointed them. Kevin's a good representative of that. Canada was pretty much always with it. We can't count on that. Well, now Judy has an interesting thing. Maybe Putin and Trump fell out like Musk. Now, here's the thing we know about Trump. Yeah, we know about Trump this. A couple things. He's influenced by the last thing he hears. He will only accept any kind of comments from somebody he believes worships him. He doesn't really care about anything that isn't Donald Trump. And here's the worst part of him being president, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that he doesn't care how he goes down in history as being a president. He only cares about three things: what benefits Trump, how much money he can get out of the deal by being president, and three, he knows he can stay out of jail. And that's it. There's no other reasons that he's president of the United States.
Well, can I just jump in real quick about what's going on? I know we've been talking about the Iran, Israel, United States, stuff like that. Now in Canada right now. So we had the G7 summit, and Trump came to the G7, and no Canadian wanted him here. Nobody.
Right.
Anybody I talked to on my Facebook, and I've got a lot of people on my Facebook, nobody wanted him in Canada, period, because if you're a criminal in Canada, you cannot go to the United States. They're going to send you right back. If he was convicted of a criminal crime, he shouldn't be allowed. I don't care if he's the Taj Mahal. He shouldn't be allowed in Canada. Now, with the G7, when he left and he said, well, I got to go and deal with the Middle East, it wasn't just to deal with something small. This was the uplink of what happened once he's in the carrier groups. And
which may be one of the few.
Yeah, well, Dave, you should be smart enough. Brian should be smart enough to know when you send in that many carrier groups.
Oh, I agree, Kevin. You're going to get
something coming.
I think what's amazing about that, when he said I'm leaving the G7, I did not, for that reason, I did not believe it. So maybe for one of the first times in his presidency, he actually told the truth, which is interesting.
Well, I want to go back to what Kevin said about like the Nimitz and the Ronald Reagan.
Right.
Those ships.
I don't know what the third aircraft carrier's name was. I can check it up real quick.
Look,
there was three battle groups. Anyways, you don't send three battle groups to the Middle East.
Right, but I
want
to unspool this one a little bit because I think we have to separate the carriers and the B-2s, because the carriers, I think, are used for obviously different reasons. One, what happens after? We're talking about ballistic missiles being sent. They have to be able to protect American troops throughout the Middle East, Saudi Arabia specifically, Qatar, all these places. They need those carriers there to be able to launch the missiles that are obviously going to be able to take out. Right, Tomahawks and all that. So, but they are not going to deliver the bunker busting bomb. That had to be. So they could
have used the fighter jets off the aircraft carriers to protect the B-2s. Could they not? I know Americans. They got airports and everything over.
Yeah, but I don't think they see. But here's the thing. There's two things with that. Number one, they didn't have to really work. First of all, it was a stealth bomber, so the chances of them even being able to nail the stealth bomber was almost zero. But the second thing is, as I told you, Israel got to third base. They hit the triple. They knocked out most of their ability. I assume that you know that Israel controls the skies in Iran right now. That made it a lot easier for those because the B-2 may not have needed it, but again, they hit the triple. They have domination of Iran. Iran does not control their skies. So I don't think they needed to have an entourage of fighters. In fact, I don't even think it could get there, quite frankly. I don't think you can get an F-16 or an F-35 from the Mediterranean to Iran and then get back. It has to be refueled. And I think that they let the Israelis do that.
I think we're beating this horse to death. That was a move. That was a military move. We don't know why. We don't know what it was.
No, it was a military
Kevin's
move.
right. I mean,
or in case of what happens if they have to do it.
That's what I'm saying. Right, exactly. Yeah. Now, what I want to get to, though, is this. One of the things I'll be interested in, and we don't know, and again, we just don't know because Trump doesn't tell the truth. Hamas is not, nobody's telling the truth, and maybe they never did.
And that's true.
But we don't know. Now, I would be interested, some of the success of what happened, for me, this is only for me, I don't care if anybody else believes this, is limiting collateral damage. If you took out Iran's nuclear capability and killed no one but military, that to me is a fine operation, okay? If you believe they were a threat and you went in. Usually that doesn't happen.
It's usually 10 to 1. 10 civilians per one soldier.
And that's on Israel's side.
Israel said it's 2 to 1. It's 2 to 1.
Yeah.
But during World War II, it was nine. World War II was 9 to 1. It was 9 to 1.
If you remember that before that Midnight Hammer, they had already bombed a lot of installations in Iran to take out a lot of their generals, even before they did this. Mm-hmm. So they were targeting not just their nuclear program. They were targeting their top commanders even before they did this big.
Which I think is right. You get rid of the head. That's what you do. You target the head.
You're cutting the head off the snake.
I want to pick up on that.
And they haven't cut the head off the snake because
the supreme leader's still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah, he's
I
still alive.
I want to come back. That's what I want to pick up on now. Do you think a joint Israel-American operation, or just an American operation, or just as an Israeli operation, could go in and assassinate the top level of the Iranian government?
Oh, easily.
Do you think they could?
Easily.
I think they could. I think it's a question of whether they decided to do
whether
it, Dave.
They want to.
Right. All right, because they have to wear that out.
For a moment.
If they need to do it, they'll do it. If they don't, they won't do it.
I mean, you can't guarantee it, but I would think if they've done it already to a lot of generals, yes, they could do it.
All right, so let me jump.
That's the same as Dave. That's the same as if Donald Trump said, "Oh well, guess what? Well, we wanted you to become the 51st state," and Carney says, "You know what?" Carney basically, not mind my language, says, "Go fuck yourselves." And now we're a sovereign country. We've always been a sovereign country. But Trump decides to sit back in the White House and say, you know what? Maybe we'll bomb Parliament Hill in Ottawa.
Right. See, what I'm thinking, Brian, is this, and Kevin, what I'm thinking is, again, if some facts that we assume are kind of true, 90%, Brian, you might be a little bit high, but you're close, of the Iranian people do not support.
It's a guess. I've heard 90%.
I'm saying I don't think you're that far off.
Mm-hmm. So, which is a good sign. It means there could be regime change.
And you know what happened, Brian and Dave? This, you know what they were saying. This has nothing to me in my mind. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been following a lot of this stuff for months. I don't think it's anything to do with the regime change.
I mean, as far as the Operation Midnight. No, I don't think that's that.
No. Well, I would disagree with you on that.
I've got some Iranian friends in this city, and they said they're happy over there, but maybe not with the way the military runs it, but they're happy with the way the government's running. The women
and see what's interesting.
The women want to turn into like the Western University, like the way we are in Canada, the way you are in the States.
Where they had it back in the 70s. They actually had it.
See, that's now.
And it was taken away.
When I was, what do you call it? I guess pulling your chain, Brian, earlier. We made a point in there, though.
I'm fine, Dave. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It makes for a good show.
I'm not the least bit worried because I just know that I'm right and you're wrong. So what happens is this. Okay. So what happens is this. we say they could. Well, why didn't they? And then we're back to we don't know. Okay. But we have two questions before we sign off that I do think are very important. And we haven't addressed them yet. Number one, will Americans support Trump in any war? That's number one. And number two, what is Congress going to do? And I guess you should make that the first one. So,
Yeah.
Brian or Kevin, what do you expect the reaction from
Okay,
Congress? And just
I
for
don't
anyone
know
who's
much-
before
okay, I
Kevin,
don't
Kevin,
know much
Kevin,
about- I
Kevin,
don't know much about
Kevin,
American politics.
Kev,
But does
Kev, before you start, I
this-
got to add one more
Kev,
thing.
Kev, hold on.
Yeah.
Kev, we'll get you. We'll get you.
Kev, hold on. Okay, so here, Kevin, in case anybody out there really doesn't understand,
He's a frustrated Maple Leafs fan. You have to watch out.
I got listen.
Be
Donald
quiet,
Trump.
Brian.
Donald Trump broke the law with his attack. Why do I say that? The Constitution specifies that only Congress can declare war. Now that thing's been thrown away long before. We're not going to get into that. But
That's
here's
what I
the
was just
thing.
going to ask you, Dave.
Well,
did
here's-
that
that's-
perhaps go through Congress?
Absolutely.
Or does Trump think
But
that he's above the world?
Obama did it. A lot of people have done it. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, Congress has abrogated its power long before Trump came in to do this. But now they have to figure out this. There will be a huge divide, as we see already, in Trump camp. Maybe the biggest divide in MAGA since its initiation. And that is caused by this. Today, you saw 3-4 major voices of the young men, influencers on social media, saying that Donald Trump lied, he let us down, he promised us no war. And that's interesting. Donald Trump, go back and look at it, he promised to be the peace candidate. He did. And basically what he said is Kamala Harris
I
will
agree
do
with that, yeah.
what I just did. So if you believed him, if you voted for him and you believe he's going to be the peace candidate, that one's shot down. Now, also, Congress has to go and, let's not make heroes out of them. I said, I would throw them all out and start again. But this thing, they have to look at what their voters want, right? Because they have to get reelected. So the Democrats will want to have a united voice against Donald Trump. But if you have a united voice against Donald Trump, you've got a problem with your own constituency, because this is how I view it. On the Republican side right now, you have the debate is peace or war, Donald Trump. That's the debate. On the Democratic side, it's Israel versus Gaza, and by extension, any other Arab country. So they're two different things, but they both will lead to more division and polarization within the parties. Now, we know that the Democrats do not have the votes to really do anything. So, Brian, to you, what do you expect Congress to do?
What do I expect Congress to do? Okay, Lucky, I'm going to tell you. What is Congress going to do? I love Lucky, by the way. If you're talking about the Democrats in Congress, I think the only thing left for the... Well, first of all, the Congress is Trump's got what he wants. I mean, you mentioned about the War Powers Act. With Congress is one supposed to have to approve. But we've known for the last 100 years that presidents have just ignored that. They could just say this is defensive action. This is not a war. This is whatever. Same thing in Vietnam. So in that sense, it's a moot point. It doesn't matter. But I think the only thing that Democrats like the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders can do, and this they may have a legitimate point, in their weakness, the strength that they'll have is that they can say, okay, you decided on going in, you made the decision, and if it turns out that all of a sudden we have World War III, now you are responsible for it. You're the one who put it, and you are the party that did this. And then if we have American deaths, it's not us because we didn't have any power. That's the only thing the Democrats have right now. That's it.
I agree.
That's it.
I
and
agree.
I can't explain it any other way. Kevin, you agree too?
Oh, yeah, I agree. I'll tell you right now. I'm going to just say a few more words. I see that there's only a few more minutes.
We got to get Lucky on too,
Yeah.
No,
and
we
I had my bodyguard here, Lucky, right there.
Right.
This is one of the best puppies in the world, right there.
I love that dog.
He is a true Canadian dog.
Okay.
But no, all I want to say is I think diplomacy now for this is out the door. I don't think Iran is going to budge. What I'm worried about is innocent civilians now with cells being called in. Now, I could be wrong, but if you back a dog into a corner, it's going to bite back. And
As Lucky did to you one time, right?
All right.
Yeah, no, he
Okay,
did me a few times. Don't worry.
But
I put him in his place. He's good now. But I'm just saying, I'm going to feel sorry. We'll say in a year from now, I'm not even saying it's going to be a year. I'm saying maybe a month from now. If there's cells out there and they activate cells, and people walk in with
probably will happen
with best bombs on and blow up a restaurant in America, like in Washington or New York or Florida or even in Canada or England, because they don't like us.
Can I? I think you're right, but I want you to be honest, Kevin, and I want you to be honest, Dave, because I talked about this earlier in the show. If they strap the bombs on themselves, and who are they going to go after first in the United States? I just
Jewish
asked
people.
Thank you.
Jewish people.
And I'm not trying to be right.
No, you weren't leading.
The people in the United States because he instigated it, but it's
right. But we know where they're going to go first.
The only thing that would change that, Brian, is if they decided there was a target that would cause more concern.
Right.
Than
right.
that.
Yeah, I would agree. Yes.
Like
absolutely.
the Super Bowl or something. Now I want to get back to this, and this is to me, all this was interesting and fun, and we're not experts, and we don't know what this show reflected to. What this show actually said to me, and I set it up, not the show, but I set it up deliberately. It's emotional. We're scared. We don't know what's going to happen. Some of us have strong feelings on one side or the other. Now, finishing with that. My biggest concern of all of this is this. Based on the past 4 weeks before this happened, I think we kind of were putting Trump on the ropes. 20,000 come to his birthday party. Somewhere between 2 and 11 million go to the anti-birthday party. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. It's really what happened. The Pope drew more people to a videotape sent message from Rome to the Chicago White Sox ballpark in Chicago than Trump had at his parade. Okay, so a lot of things were working. I think the Pope is going to be anti-Trump, which works to the advantage for those who don't.
And who paid
my
for
concern?
That big giant, who paid for that giant parade?
Well,
the taxpayers.
But my concern is this. How will this affect the protest movement, which we must consider, because we cannot have America if Donald Trump stays.
I got you. Well said.
And I agree with you.
Kevin, you want to finish?
I do.
All right.
So
we'll leave it.
Look, I love being on with you guys.
Wait a minute.
This is going. I'm sorry. This is not going to get any better. I don't care what people say. It's going to get worse.
All right.
So just
you know what?
Get ready.
We don't do ratings a lot on this show, and I would like to do that tonight. I would like to rate the 4 people or the 4 entities on this show in believability, trust, and wisdom.
Lucky
and I
gets
would rate
number
them
1.
This way. No, not. I get number 1. Kevin gets number 2. Lucky gets number 3.
Brian, you get number 1.
Brian, you get number 6.
Lucky gets number 3.
Okay, I will always go with the dog. Always. I am on Team Animal. I'm not a big fan of humans, except my wonderful friends David and Kevin. I love them both. They're honestly. I would.
What about
give my
Ronnie?
life for them, and they would. Absolutely, I'm talking about the people on the show here. Ronnie, I'd give my life for her, of course. So no, it's wonderful having you guys, and we're going to do this again. I don't know when, but we have a lot of time this summer. Yeah. Please share it, folks. Everybody.
I think also, Brian, for those who don't know, Brian becomes an unemployed bum on Tuesday. Tomorrow's his last day of school. But one of the things I do think, and nobody needs to comment.
Brian?
No,
Pardon me?
No.
I'm just the end of tomorrow's my last day at work.
But here's what happens. I think we and our listeners and everybody better be prepared for some additional shows in the sense of this. So much is happening that we either kind of almost have to do one of two things. One is extend the show. I don't know if I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
Or periodically get what the things we can get.
I don't think this is going to be it.
Done.
We're going to have one hell of a summer, and I'll tell you, it's going to get.
And that's
usually things
and
tail
that doesn't
off. It's
matter.
going to get hot. It's
Right.
going to get hot. So, hell, we
yes.
may not. All of us might be gone. It's kind of morbid to think that.
Not to be rude. I didn't want to jump in, but I mean, we just passed a bill because our government just went into the summer sit down now. We just passed the G5 bill, which means is that we're opening up no restrictions now for province to province to province to province to do trades. We have a big pipeline now out in Alberta that's starting up, coming out with natural gas in the next few weeks. Carney, I will give Carney as my prime minister some kudos. I'm not really a liberal. I'm an NDP guy. I'm a New Democratic person. But he wants us to back away from the United States for everything. We don't want to deal with you guys, and that's what he wants.
I can't blame
And
you.
let the states let Trump suck his own butt, and we'll deal with other countries.
Wouldn't it be funny, Brian and Kevin, if this happened? Trump, with his "Make America Great," which he believes he's doing.
It's coming, Dave.
No,
coming.
but what I'm seeing, I don't know about you guys. I'm seeing he is making Canada greater than it was. He's making other countries greater. And Brian, I just want to say to you,
Okay, we'll get Dave back on here.
if I had a show like you did, I wouldn't be grinning because you were a disgrace to the United States of America, humanity, everyone who was ever involved in your education, your wife.
Okay, I'm gonna have the last word, and then that'll be it, folks. I want to thank everybody for here, and above all, ladies and gentlemen, support mental health. See you.